Predator, a sci-fi movie etched in film history. This lovely little franchise, aside from having one of the worst movies known to man, introduced an alien species so iconic it could only be matched by throwing it at another extraterrestrial franchise, which I've kind of already made a video about. So today we're gonna be taking a look at Yautja biology and culture, so I can ride the hype train of Predator Badlands. But first, be sure to like and subscribe. Predator, or as their species is called, Yautja biology, is equal parts fascinating and fantastical nonsense. Originating on the planet of Yautja Prime, during their more primitive days, the Yautja people lived in tribe-like societies, fighting against an ecosystem brutal enough to bully evolution into spitting out an 8-foot-tall Sangheili ripoff. Before they could really start making progress on the tech skill tree, a lovely little race called the Amengi found their planet and decided that predator ancestors were perfect for their unpaid labor programs, or as we like to call it down here, slavery. Although slavery might be underselling it a bit. Of course, there was the classic forced labor and then some spectacle of tossing them into the arena to kill each other, still pretty basic, but at some point the Amengi just started eating them, which is definitely an interesting way to treat your slave species. I also seriously doubt anything with a face like that could be even slightly appetizing, alien taste buds or not. Or maybe I'm just too stingy with my eating habits and Yautja burgers are a vibe. Unfortunately for the Amengi, the Yautja didn't like being slave sandwiches, so a rebellion was launched and the Yautja turned the Amengi's great technology against them, genociding a large part of the insectoid race. There's actually an interesting bit of lore that states the surviving Amengi were hit with the slavery Uno reversal card and now work under Yautja supervision to create and advance predator technology, which is something I buy into since it explains how the predators get all their fancy toys despite the fact they spend their entire lives trying to kill shit, which is where we pick up the current culture and traditions of the Yautja. To put it simply, Yautja society is based around one thing and one thing only: the hunt. Simply put, kill something big and you get a pat on the head. You kill something bigger and bam, you're an elite predator with some fancy new gizmos to go with it. Then you murk a T-Rex and congrats, you're the clan leader or something like that. Now I know this sounds very simple, but there are some rules to follow, which I'll sound off in a bit, to ensure the kill is very clean and honorable. Unless you're a bad blood clan who don't really give a shit about following rules and things like that. It's for this reason that bad blood individuals or even clans are usually treated with the kill on sight policy by other Yautja. Some notable examples of bad bloods would be the hunters from the Predators 2010 film, starring the one and only Danny Trejo. There's also a bad blood clan that uses xenomorphs as attack dogs, which is utterly horrifying. On the subject of interspecies conflict, there is actually a sub-rank in the predator culture called the Enforcers, whose whole goal is to hunt down and kill bad blood Yautja. Reminds me of someone else who hunts predators. Anyway, honor-abiding Yautja clans, the rules of the hunt are generally as follows. Worthy targets. Yautja must hunt prey that can defend themselves, which also means children, elderly, and sick people are off the menu. Fair play. Yautja are generally supposed to use minimal gear while hunting to even the playing field, although given what I've seen in the Predator movies, this rule is pretty much non-existent. Totally fair. Don't interfere. Yautjas are not to meddle in other hunters' hunts in any way, shape, or form. And finally, no trace. Yautja are to leave no traces of equipment, technology, or contaminants of any kind, which means Yautja genuinely take better care of their hunting grounds than all of humanity right now, which is certainly something to ponder. And should a predator lose gear during a hunt, it's genuinely a disgrace. The individual must get the equipment back, and should they fail, they risk exile, being demoted, and publicly shamed, or they get hit with the classic card of death. Now, obviously, in every culture, there are deviations. Some clans, like the one led by the Grendel King, just straight kidnap people who show they got some fight in them and toss them into an arena for the sport. Most rules can be broken or bent during wars or special recovery missions. Now, should a Yautja fail a hunt for any reason, they're expected to do one thing and one thing only to stop their tech from falling into enemy hands, and that's blowing the fuck up. Granted, given Yautja biology and training, this doesn't really happen that often. Yautja start their life as sucklings, born through live birth. Each one of these sucklings is a powerful warrior in the making, spending their entire youth in grueling training bouts, where I'm sure at least one or two of them die from the harsh curriculum. Once they hit the age of around 60 goddamn years old, these Yautja are considered young bloods or aspiring adults, who can now embark on their first group hunt, the prey of which is more often than not xenomorphs, and given what I saw in the first Alien vs. Predator movie, the success rate leaves a bit to be desired. Assuming the Youngblood is successful, which is definitely a gamble, they are now fully blooded Yautja, able to access full gear kits and hunt independently. From here, it's a steady climb of hunting and killing worthy prey until a Yautja dies or hits the rank of retirees/ancients, who are the most elite veterans in Yautja society. Usually around 1,000 years old, these individuals often lead and make up governing councils. This rank also seems to be the only one where you don't have to go out and kill shit anymore. But alas, the highest and most renowned rank a Yautja can aspire to is, of course, the King, ruler of clans and overlord of the Yautja race. This rank has only been seen once or twice, and is no doubt the pinnacle of a Yautja's honor. Onto the more biological aspects of the species, every Yautja belongs to a certain subgroup, sporting morphological differences from their original conditions. Of course, they all share the iconic dreadlocks, which are grown naturally and act as sensory organs that can even detect bioelectricity somehow. They also function as a status symbol since they grow longer and grayer with age, showing which hunters have survived the longest. Yautja height ranges vastly between phenotypes, but the average is within the range of 7 to 8 feet, and weighing in around a casual 520 pounds in their hunting gear. Needless to say, these boys are dense. And of course, it goes without saying, these things stomp your average man. They have better tech, better training, and are just bigger, faster, and stronger. The best thing you could do is probably shit yourself and cry in the fetal position, and maybe the predator will think you're not worth the kill. The fact this genuinely might be a valid strategy amuses me greatly. In case you couldn't tell, Yautja despise weakness so much that they'll kill or banish any clan members who are perceived as such, which pretty much set up the whole plot for Predator Badlands. Yautja females hunt alongside their male counterparts and are usually depicted as being a bit leaner and more agile. Predator blood is always a nice neon glow stick shiny green, and can somehow increase the human lifespan, which just hurts to think about. You can kill yourself by mixing the wrong blood type of your own species, but somehow a blood that isn't even the same color will push you to live past a century. I genuinely want whatever the Predator comic writers were smoking when they decided to make that a thing. Yautja also see in the infrared spectrum, or they see body heat, which is normally something helped by their biomasks, expanding it to things like EM field detection, which is that fancy green sight used for xenomorphs, to just plain old classic X-ray vision. But without the mask, Yautja can struggle to make out objects in environments that are extremely hot, which I know sounds like a big weakness, and to be fair, it is, but a Yautja can probably see your body heat in pitch darkness, which I would say more than makes up for this perceived flaw. Keep in mind, Yautja also have their dreadlocks and other ways of finding you, so your clumsy ass probably isn't pulling an Assassin's Creed stealth kill on the extraterrestrial squid face anytime soon. Speaking of the most notable feature the Yautja sport, that toothy maw. Aside from being examples of what happens when Mother Nature has one too many glasses of white wine, these lovely dentures are very good for ripping and tearing, no doubt supporting the Yautja's mostly carnivorous diet, which was noted when the city hunter kept raiding a meat freezer for some fine steaks, which is definitely something I can get behind. As far as gear and tech goes, each Yautja starts off with the basic kit of the wrist blades, pointy combi stick, and in my boy Deck's case, a shiny fire sword, along with that net mesh thing, which apparently controls body temperature, and since the mesh is stated to be very uncomfortably warm for humans, I imagine the average Yautja body temp is staggeringly high. Yautja kits also include a net of a different type. By that, I mean the type that can squeeze you into a pile of fresh ground beef on the floor. Don't forget the classic camo and fancy plasma launcher. Some of the more advanced equipment Yautja have to earn include the Power Punch glove, plasma scythe, and of course my baby the Xenomorph tail whip, which is just
nice.
along with high-powered bows and arrows and all kinds of futuristic yet oddly primitive gear. Yautja armor is usually xenomorph-proof, except for the young bloods, cause apparently acid is just something Junior has to get past in life. How do you acid-proof gear, you might be wondering? Simple. They make some of the armor components out of xenomorphs themselves, which is truly the biggest of brain plays. And should Junior fail and be infected by a xenomorph embryo, the resulting creature, or abomination as it's called, will be hunted with the highest of priorities, even having Yautja Elite sent after it, which was the case for the Alien vs Predator 2 Electric Boogaloo movie. Not that you would have known that given how fucking dark the movie is. Somebody please plug in a nightlight. Finally getting to the Yautja homeworld because my video pacing is shit. And of course, it's Yautja Prime, a planet similar enough to Earth, but with notably more oxygen, which is why the Yautja can breathe our air for a time, but sooner or later have to take a puff out of that biomass. Presumably, the planet is dominated by mostly honor-abiding clans, with the less friendly ones probably being ship-based or operating from one of the less active Yautja-controlled planets. Two of the more popular Yautja seen on the big screen are, of course, the classic City Hunter and my boy Deck. The former was likely a relatively low rank given the fact he wasn't sporting that much new gear, and on his quest to collect trophies in the concrete jungle of Los Angeles, this hunter would meet his match in the form of one Lieutenant Mike Harrigan, a police officer doing his best to stop our boy from collecting human cranial cavities. And he does a pretty good job whooping homie's ass in his own crib, no less. We also get to see an intro of Yautja medicine when the hunter, upon losing his, I'm gonna say left arm, decides to rub burnt drywall, glass, and some Jamba Juice on his stump. Medicine. On the subject of Yautja healthcare, they also use something called health shards, which basically work as portable medicine injectors, and given the Yautja's reaction upon using them, I imagine it's quite painful. Anyway, upon beating the City Hunter in a duel, Lieutenant Mike is given a fancy pistol, so at least the Yautja aren't poor sports when it comes to losing. Or at least that clan wasn't, since we see the poor man stuck in cryostasis next to Arnie in the Killer of Killers film. Then of course, there's my boy Deck, the most definite bestest of hunters, and from what I've seen, the only Yautja to say more than 1 or 2 sentences. He also killed his dad for killing his brother for not killing him. Such is the way of the humble Yautja. A couple last tidbits to round off with is that the casual clicking noise Yautja make are often said to be an expression of emotions, things like curiosity or amusement, which is neat. And believe it or not, you can be a Yautja. Although it's rare, exceptionally skilled humans can and have been accepted into Yautja clans. Such was the case for Machigo Noguchi, who after surviving a xenomorph outbreak was blooded and joined a clan led by Topknot. She did eventually betray them though, because as it turns out, hunting your fellow man and keeping their skull as a trophy makes it a little hard to sleep at night. But hey, if you're willing and able, who am I to stop you from hunting sentient beings for sport? Get out there, slay some xenomorphs, and join a Yautja clan. There's only like a 90% chance you die, get turned into a xenomorph breeding host, or even if you succeed, the relevant hunter decides your hard work makes you a worthy prey. But hey, roll those dice and just maybe you can get one of those fancy cloaks. And that's all I have for you on my very brief look at the Yautja. Merry Christmas, stay safe out there, and try not to end up as someone else's hunting trophy. Peace.